Hello. Welcome back to Module 3, Scholarship as Conversation. Today, we'll talk about a few reading strategies that will help you when conducting research. Philosopher and educator Mortimer Adler commented in 1972. Reading, if it is active, is thinking, and thinking tends to express itself in words, spoken or written. Psychologist Edward Thorndike said in 1917, understanding a paragraph is like solving a problem in mathematics. It consists in selecting the right elements of the situation and putting them together in the right relations, and also with the right amount of weight or influence or force for each. Both authors were correct to a point, but most scholars now define reading through meaning, especially the construction of meaning by the reader. The International Encyclopedia of Education defines reading comprehension as the process of simultaneously constructing and extracting meaning through interaction and engagement with print. The college promotes the SQ3R reading and study strategy, which has 5 steps that will help you to find the meaning of a text and to become a highly effective reader. S stands for survey, in which you survey the material to gain an initial understanding of its purpose and main ideas. Chapter titles, headings, and subheadings are cues that indicate the material's overall structure and the core concepts being developed. Reading the introduction, summary, and/or conclusion will enable you to see how each chapter fits the author's purposes, and to focus on the author's essential points. Summaries, exercises, glossaries, and bibliographies are further cues. Visual aids such as charts, maps, graphs, and diagrams are there to support a point. Do not overlook them. Other cues, including italics, boldface print, chapter objectives, and end-of-chapter questions, are all intended to emphasize important points. Footnotes or endnotes can provide additional details that would have slowed down the author's narrative, but are nevertheless important. Q stands for questions, in which your questions give purpose to your reading and improve concentration and comprehension. Turn the heading for each chapter or section into as many questions as you think will be answered in that section. For example, if the chapter title is Cryptology, from hieroglyphics to the Internet, read it as, what are the various forms of cryptology? With a simple question, you have created a purpose for reading and critical thinking because you are now looking for the answer to that question. The better the questions, the better your comprehension and contextual understanding is likely to be. You may always add further questions as you proceed. The first R in the 3R stands for read, in which your reading answers the questions you have formulated. Actively read one section at a time with your questions in mind and look for the answers. The first sentence of each paragraph usually states the main idea. Purposefully engage with the author's ideas, arguments, and examples. Notice new and important vocabulary, and locate definitions if needed. Look for transition words that will help you to follow the main concepts, connections, and examples, next, for instance, in contrast, or in addition to. Recognize when you need to generate new questions. The second R stands for recite, in which you recite what you have read and interact with the text, which can assist with putting the information into your long-term memory. After reading each chapter or section, stop and reflect on your questions and see if you can answer them in your own words from memory. If not, review the text, as often as necessary, and take additional notes. Do not move to the next chapter or section until you can recite the answers from the previous one. Be able to reconcile the author's point of view with your own. The third R stands for review, in which you review the information to gain an overview of the points and their relationships. Once you have finished the entire chapter using the preceding steps, perform a post-reading evaluation of the questions you created for every heading. See if you can still answer them. If not, look back at your notes and refresh your memory. Reflect on your answers to be sure they are clear, sufficient, and supported. In 2017, researchers at the Stanford University Graduate School of Education conducted a study into the strategies used to evaluate the trustworthiness of 2 institutional websites. One surface-level approach employed vertical reading, in which participants stayed strictly within the website to assess its reliability. Vertical reading is basically reading the target site from top to bottom and spending time examining the internal features. Criteria for evaluating websites using vertical reading includes the top-level domain, that would be the .coms or .orgs. The URLs. The aesthetics of the design, layout, and graphics. The ease of navigation. The quality of the prose. Links to more prestigious sites. The existence of citations. The presence of advertisements. Information on the About or Contact pages. Endorsements from friends or authorities. The Stanford study and several others have concurred that those employing vertical reading fared poorly in evaluating websites and the claims proposed. The other strategy involved the strategic thinking techniques of lateral reading. When encountering information derived from an unfamiliar source, the practice of lateral reading is to leave the website and open new tabs along the browser's horizontal axis, drawing on the resources of the internet to learn more about a site and its claims. When reading laterally, fact-checkers paid little attention to features of a website like its appearance or contents. Instead, they quickly leapt off the landing page to open new tabs. Fact-checkers, in short, learned most about a site by leaving it. When you practice lateral reading, you should develop a consensus of the source by reviewing the publication date, the publisher or funding organization, the author, and 3 to 5 online reactions to the original source. If 3 to 5 reviewers or critics cannot be located, then the original source has not developed a sufficient reputation in the field. Proceed with caution. Be aware that results may include pages issued by the publisher or funding organization in question. Productive lateral readers practice click restraint, meaning they consider results before selecting a browser window and depend on their knowledge of digital sources, knowledge of how the internet and searches are structured, and knowledge of strategies to make searching and navigating effective and efficient. Once these techniques have been completed, the original source's trustworthiness can be reasonably determined. Next time, we'll talk about the concept of the research interview and explore why they can be important to the research process. Until then, thank you for your time. If you want to learn more about the subjects we have discussed, here are the sources used for this section.